Happy Saturday, everybody. Thank y'all for joining us once again on another Saturday morning at 8 a.m., bringing you that information, inspiration, motivation to get you through not only your weekend, but through every day of your life moving forward. All information, you take it, you do what you want to with it. We give it, apply it or not. We do. So you could either, see the transformation through us and catch up or transform with us. This morning, we have Sandra McKechnie with us. I don't know if I said your last name right. That's how it looks like it's spelled to me.
I know. It's Keck.
McKechnie.
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 Yeah. That's all right.
I saw the K-E-H like tech. And I wasn't really sure. But Sandra McKechnie is coming to us, and she's just filled with so much information about double consciousness. She's a coach. She's doing some big things, making some moves. We're all moving in position as we should for the coming times, because we are getting ready for this humongous global transmutation. Mm-hmm. But good morning, Sandra. Welcome.
Good morning, Desiree. Wonderful to be here.
Thank
I really
you.
feel good. Yeah.
Tell us about yourself.
Wow. How much time you got? Okay.
We have an hour.
I know, right? Okay. So double consciousness has everything to do with me in so many ways. It was like it was running behind me. W.E.B. Du Bois was his double consciousness. I just sort of brought it to the 21st century. Other people are doing it too, but we're all unique. So we're all doing it differently. And I'm of four children. I've got two brothers and my sister and myself. And I have been on a journey for a long, long time. And we're going to talk a little about the assimilation process that has come with all of us, brown and black people, indigenous people, and a lot of people that came through apartheid, the sub-Saharan trade, transatlantic slave trade, colonization, all of the ma'afas, the horrors that brown and black people, indigenous brethren have been through, most especially black, because we're classified in races at the bottom of the rung. So that has affected me, and all of us, but I'm speaking, talking about me for this little few minutes. And I recognized, I'm 58 years old. I recognized about 5 years ago how assimilated I actually was. And it was like an alarm went off. Ding, 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 and I woke up. Now, before that, of course, I'm a singer-songwriter. I did a lot of billets. I used to go across, I went to the East, went to the States doing gospel. That was my big thing. Still a part of me. I actually do songs on my training. So we're in the middle of one right now. And just to soothe people, because the content is heavy, right? It's heavy. It's 8-hour training. We do it in 2 parts, 2 consecutive Sundays. So I was a secretary, singer-songwriter, but Desiree, the things that you are called to do from the Most High, the power of that reigns all over us. I know we're even assimilated to not talk about what we initially were. However, I love these shows when we can keep some of this stuff real, and I'm so honored to be here. Thank you so, so much. And it's all about the healing for me, because it happened to me, and I want to share. And if someone else has something to give me, I want to take that too, so I can facilitate more of the healing. So double consciousness, I woke up, I brought the singer, whatever you're called to do, that's what sticks. I keep going back to the singer-songwriter, going back to my piano training, just to make sure I want to do some stuff and complete my journey. And so this is what it's all about. So I feel compelled to share with you what the singer-songwriter has learned, right? What the coach is learning, and what double consciousness, the individual that speaks and facilitates that, is learning.
Sounds amazing.
Yeah.
I'm ready to dive in. And I know you, everybody here, you pretty much know me. I'm coming from a construction project management background of almost 20 years out here in Las Vegas. You can't get no more in depth to trying to understand your consciousness than having to work with being like this, a minority woman in a very Anglo-Saxon dominant male field. So having to work with that is tough. And I know a lot of how everybody out there right now is, women in construction, we're bringing women in, and now it's welcomed. But you're talking about 20 years ago, that wasn't welcomed. And I was young, right out of college, and I'm not gonna say young right out of college. Let me rephrase that, because when I got out of college and graduated, I was like 32, 31, 32. I raised my family. Then I went to school and I finished and got my degree. And then I started my journey. I started construction around 24. And then I went to college to actually get the degree. And then I went in heavier. It's like that. So
okay.
I've been doing it for actually more than 20 years, but actually here in Vegas doing the project management has been totally 18 years. And then there were about 7-8 years before that, before I got my degree. But you're right. And that was really my calling. But I was thinking that my calling was, I could build buildings. I wasn't understanding that a lot of times the universe will take you through a journey to help you see it. And construction was me seeing and enjoying building things, building buildings, understanding the architectural blueprints and being able to read every line on it, to carrying that energy over to building people and understanding neuroscience and the brain. And I look at the brain as my blueprint to the person, which is the construction. And there's part of it that is not constructed. And a lot of people are not understanding that part of that building is down still because it's in phases in construction, because all construction has phases. And there's some phases we haven't reached. So we are not completely built. So I was like, I got to take everything that I feel, learn, know, and understand in construction realm and marry it to my coaching, as I've been actually really like coaching and consulting people since I was 20, because people just gravitate to me to speak to me. Yeah. And I've been speaking since I was 10 in the 4-H club. And my dad put me in public speaking with 4-H when I was 10 years old. So the universe has been actually guiding my entire way since I was a very little girl. And I remember it. And I look back on my journey and my just my whole milestones. And I see everything that the universe has done up until right now. And it's prepared me for now. Right. Amazing. But I want you to get into double consciousness, let people know, because people got to wake up and they got to get to that other phase of their construction of self that they have not even know anything about. They're just totally undiscovered land. And I love when you talk.
Yeah, I love when you talk about construction, because one of our objectives is to deconstruct so we can reconstruct. So we deconstruct. You're not destroying it, just taking some stuff apart and looking at, wait a minute, what is this? And we do that. We should hopefully do that how many times in our lives? I didn't do it a lot of times. I just got woken up and I started to deconstruct and disown what was not mine, what I was assimilated to believe. And so that's where we're heading with double consciousness. Yes. Is disowning what's not ours in a healthy way,
Right. And a lot of people, and I know, the audience, they know I've talked about paradigms, which is the part that you don't know. Right. But there's a deeper unknowing beyond the paradigms of which you're not paying attention to. There's a difference between unknowing and not paying attention to it. And a lot of people don't pay attention because they're not aware. They're not observers in their life to see what they're doing, what they're saying, and how they're not in alignment. Your conversation, I will pick it up, because I've been on that journey. But I could pick up if your conversation is not in alignment with your actions, and if you spiritually are not in alignment. I'm seeing all of that. I'm reading you, and Absolutely. I don't say a lot to people, but every encounter I have with anybody, if I'm encountering you, I'm deconstructing you because I really want to see you. I want to see the parts of you that you don't see, which is why I love coaching, because it's like construction. I have to see the building in my imagination. I have to imagine it and envision it there before it's real. And so I've been doing this, for over 20 years, because that's what construction is. Yes, you have to see it before it's done. And as a project manager, we have to feel that building so intently that we can minimize the mistakes as we're constructing it. Or if we're doing, reconstruction, there's a lot of unforeseen. And I like to, marry it with unforeseen things. Because in construction, when you start tearing open the ceiling, you don't know what damage is up there, depending on how long that building is there. Right. You don't know if the people before that came and constructed it or ran the wires right, ran the pipes right. You don't know what they did up there until you remove the drywall and remove to reveal to see what's behind the walls. And I tell people that's where you live, is really behind the walls. You don't live in front of the walls. What you can see, that's not you. Well, who you are is what you don't see, because that's what's actually affecting your life. It's directing your path, and you don't see it because you're unaware of what's there, because you haven't pulled away the drywall. You haven't pulled away your walls. For all these walls you built, every trauma experience, every experience that you did not like, it created a wall.
Yes.
And now that you have all these walls, you have to tear those walls down so you can see who you are. And nobody really knows who they are. So I really want to get into that part of self-discovery.
Yes, absolutely. I'll tell you a little bit about double consciousness in a nutshell. I know it's hard for people to conceptualize. I put it under cultural awareness training and sensitivity training, just so people can get the sort of the gist of it. But double consciousness concept was coined by W.E.B. Du Bois, social reformer, Pan-Africanist. This man's amazing. He was the calendar boy for the NAACP for, oh my goodness, over 24 years. National Association of Advancement of Colored People. And now W.E.B. Du Bois, his concept, double consciousness was around before him, but he coined it, and it is an amazing concept. And there is talk of him sort of disowning it, but it's an exact science, and I'll tell you why. Double consciousness is this: two streams of thought, let me get the camera. Two streams of thought, two social identities. So I do this peace sign because there's a gap here, right? The gap in the middle denotes a struggle. And two streams of thought, two social identities, have to do with the people that came across. It's the transatlantic slave, like I said, thousands of years before that, sub-Saharan trade, which people don't talk about. That's another whole thing. And then also apartheid, all of this, colonialism, etc. So that gap has to do with the struggle. And what does the struggle mean? The struggle are those that were assimilated upon trauma. So we're here in the 21st century. Let's go back 21, 20, 19, 18, 17. Here we are saying that in this cusp of slavery, perhaps, right? There's things that we brought with us. Come back 17, 18, 19, 20, 21. We brought a struggle with us that we were taught to disown. That we shouldn't disown, because the answer is back there. The answer is back here. The reason is in double consciousness and other trainings, or, awareness sort of trainings like this one. So the answer's back there, and the reason, and the hope is ahead. So here we are. It's almost like we showed up just in the 21st century, reconnecting with ourselves. That's because we've been assimilated and lied and deceived to thinking you just showed up here. Well, logically, you know that you didn't just show up here. Everybody, the Jews, so-called Jews, are attached to their ancestors. They sit down at tables on their holy days. Their children are never going to forget the Holocaust, trust me, right? So now what we have been taught is you just showed up here. Now it's by meritocracy. Pull up yourself by your bootstraps and walk on. Forget about that. We can't afford to forget about that. We can ill afford to forget about it. Our ancestors are why I have woken up and I'm a much better person in the last 4 or 5 years, because I went back, right? 21, 20, 19, 18, 17. And I went, oh my gosh. I bumped into W.E.B. Du Bois. I bumped into a lady by the name of Dr. Joy DeGruy, who released a video called Post-Traumatic Slave Syndrome. It's still on YouTube. Post-Traumatic Slave Syndrome. It's an hour and 20 minutes long. Watch it. Joy DeGruy. And that changed my life. I woke up and I went, oh my gosh, so much to do and so little time. I was married to a white man. Officially, I guess I still am. And I'm not blaming anybody, okay? White, all kind of things that's in our family. Our fathers, my dad's mixed race, my grandfather's Scottish. So we're all, Now the challenge is this. If we don't know who we are, we will always press the default button of whiteness. Nations, the indigenous, must own who they are. How can you respect me when I'm shucking and jiving still and trying to be white? We don't like to say that. So let's call it code switching, if people are going to feel more comfortable with that. But no matter what you call it, we have been assimilated upon trauma. 21, 20, 19, 18, 17. Own it. Go back and find the answer. The answers are back there. So when we realize that we're back here in the 17th century, say the cusp of slavery, and Massa's looking at a video, pretend he's looking at a video. Here he is, he's looking through it, and he calls the slave, and he said, come on over here, slave. I want you to look through this video. What do you see? Well, it's a video of Massa. And then the slave said, well, I'm looking, there's a video of you. Yeah, well, I want you to study it. I want you to act like me. Slave is looking into this lens. I want you to act like me. I want you to talk like me. I want you to take the whip and beat and kill the slaves like me. And I want you to break bread with me when I so choose. But at the end of the day, remember, you're not me. You are refuse. You are nothing. So when we recognize what happened back in this, and we come home, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, we came home with a serious case of post-traumatic slave syndrome, right? And I know mommy and daddy and our great-grandma say that's nonsense, but you're acting it out. In the 21st century, we're acting it out. We've had trauma. And we don't like to say that because we're supposed to be the strong people, and we are. We're not resilient because we've been kicked around and we just look at them, oh, they came through. We're resilient because we've been kicked around and we've gone back and we've owned and we're getting healing because there was no clinicians afforded us during emancipation in Canada, during their emancipation. There has been no clinicians to help us to heal. Do you remember the drove of clinicians? No, you wouldn't remember it because there were none. We've had to attain and achieve healing for our own selves, right? And the healing factor is don't fool yourselves and start from 21st century for your healing. You won't heal. We do need to go back right to the 17th century and beyond. And do we have to own that? Right.
And it's a lot of history, right? Like a lot. It's so much. I mean, even going back to, like you said, with double consciousness and understanding that you have a consciousness or memory. Let's put it like that to make it more simply put. It's a memory of your past and a memory of your current. And you have to take those and marry them. And what people don't understand is there are so many parts of you, regardless of what nationality you are. Let me put it like this. I don't care what culture, what nationality, I don't care where you are, where you come from. You have more of you that you don't know on your other consciousness that came from not only your past traumas that you remember from this life, but your past traumas from your past life, your past traumas from, and I tell people all the time, don't quote me on this. I'm not a scientist. I'm not scientifically inclined like that. However, I know what I feel. And I feel that we have such a big part of us that is more in our past than our current life of history, right? To define who we are. And that's where it lies. Like I said, no matter who it is or what your background is, you have a history. And I feel like it's always embedded in your DNA because it's parts that you don't understand. And then you have your RNA, you have your DNA, you have your RNA, and there's a strands, and they have a lot of information in it when you're born. Because a lot of times as you even being born, you're here in this consciousness spiritually, but you still have a lot of history. So let's even go back, like you said, 1700, right? That history of trauma from hundreds of years ago is still embedded in that DNA because it created you to react a certain way. It created habits that you have today that don't even fit in this world. They don't fit for your current situation of how life is. We don't live amongst lions and dinosaurs and things and everything, because it's not just like slavery was just because of the Black people. Slavery has been around for hundreds and hundreds of years.
Absolutely.
Well before, all of that. You know what I mean? Even when Africans were enslaving Africans and getting into all of that, there's a lot of trauma still from even the Irish and from multiple different cultures that have been going through trauma through their life, that you have that trauma still inside of you, where you have things that make you hit that fight or flight syndrome chemical released in your brain. We shouldn't even be releasing as much fight or flight chemicals as we are, but we don't understand that it came from when we needed it.
And we
and we
pass
no
on a
longer
lot of
needed
things.
it.
Yeah,
And
we're
we
passing
passed
on a lot of things.
on.
And I mean, they call it epigenetics. Break it down means you're passing on a lot of things that part of your consciousness may not be aware of. Right. So you may have what they call the 4 states of competency, Roy. I call it 4 states of awareness, where, you know, you may be consciously aware, which is a great place to be. Right. But some of us are unconscious, have unconscious unawareness. It's like, what you don't know don't hurt you. I beg to differ. Because you will pass it on inevitably, and because you don't know it doesn't mean that it's not going to hurt you and your family. So what are we passing on? We deal with this all the time, and we're thinking, what's wrong with my family member? They're so crazy. What's wrong with them? Well, they're passing things on, coming out of their mouths. They're saying, oh, I'm fine, nothing's not stressing me, I'm good. No, you're passing things on because you've been taught to do that. Right? You've been taught to pass things on and that it's okay. But when you become aware, consciously aware, and you start to think, oh, wait a minute, I need a training. I need to get with my community. We didn't need no shrinks back in the day. We had a community that would help us facilitate healing. Right?
From experience.
I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that, but
right. And I tell people all the time, I said, you're going to see people out there with degrees, they'll put all these titles behind their name and they will hold themselves up on this pedestal. To be truthfully honest, no offense to anybody, I pretty much go the other direction, because if you're running after titles, you don't know who you are. And I don't need somebody who don't know who they are to try to come and teach me. I need somebody who knows who they are through experience, have experienced some things where they can actually literally, and it's not the story. It's not about the story for me. It's not the story. I don't really care about your story, but can I feel you in the information that you're giving me to let me know that you've experienced it?
Yes.
So people get caught up on stories, right? I personally don't. I just don't. I'm just not that. So I've never been the one to like go to all these speaker events because I don't like all of those stories. Get me to the point. Let's get to the nitty gritty. Teach me. Absolutely. I don't want to hear all the stories. Well, it's trying to help you connect. No, I connect by you connecting the dots in my neuroreceptors so I can get the information to make it make sense. I understand that you've been through it. You don't need to tell me your stories to convince me you've been through it. I need you to tell me the solutions and the process. And then I know you've been through it. I don't need the stories. That's the smoke and mirrors. I don't like smoke and mirrors. I never have, to be truthfully honest, since I can think back when I was 16. When you start telling me stories, my brain like, okay, let's go over here. Give me the information. I know if you've done the work. I know if you've had the experience by the information you're giving me, how you're speaking to me. Because if you have passion and understanding and awareness through your conversation with me, I feel that. So I'm letting you know how I feel it, because the passion is in your voice. I don't need the story. I need to hear and feel that you understand the experience and the process where you can teach it to me. There are so many people out there that want to teach you a process with that and say that I've had all these experiences that they want to connect to this process that makes sense to them. But I'm gonna read through all of that. I'm gonna say my spirit is very discerning, and I'm gonna read through all of that Maybelline that you got on your face, and I'm gonna get the wipes, and I'm gonna wipe you clean, and like, okay, so you really don't really know, so you're kind of regurgitating. Okay, I got you. But to be with somebody who understands and knows and can connect information. Those are the people that you guys need to walk in. And I'm only going through this process because there's so many people out there, the GOATs, the experts, all of these different titles and all these things, but a lot of them can't teach you what you really need to know to learn how to connect completely. And that's why I got into it, right? I mean, I got into coaching and what I do, and I had to break it down and like figure out, okay, so what is it, if it's, okay, I'm looking at me, what do I need to know to help me grow? First of all, I don't know my brain, and there's no manual for this. I used to say there's no manual for it, but it's a lie. The Bible is the manual, because the Bible actually breaks down everything that you need to understand the brain. It's just not taught the way that you need to teach it. It's not taught the way it needs to be taught. The Bible is very, very much underused. It is so underused.
You don't know how underused it is. Because
Man,
I interrupt you because the one big story that we need is to find out who we are unapologetically. That is who we need. That is the big story, because you can't, and in coaching, of course, they're teaching us not to coach that story. No, because you want to get there. But for us, we need to first go back and look at that story really, and to see what really happened, to see why our faith was so important and who we are even biblically. Are you hearing me, people, today? Because this is not about hating other groups. We're past that. This is about loving you and you owning who you are. There's a doctor by the name of Dr. Neely Fuller. He stands beside Dr. Frances Sess Welsing before she passed away. This was somebody she learned from. And Dr. Frances Sess Welsing, of course, was a psychiatrist that stayed in her community. Black woman, amazing woman, could have stayed and made a lot of money, but decided to stay and teach us how to think. Because we've been assimilated, there's no shame in that now. So in our sessions, what people tout is this. We always have people repeat, it is not my fault. White as well, white people in the room, whoever's in the room. It is not my fault, but I choose to do something about this.
Right.
You don't know the freedom. Desiree, I know you feel me. The freedom, when you connect to 21, 20, 19, 18, 17 and go, you weep, it's hard. Yes, you come back with post-traumatic slave syndrome. White people came back with a serious case of, what call again? The denial thing, cognitive dissonance. They came back with a serial case of that because it's hard for them to realize that me great-great-granddaddy was involved in this mess. Yes, it's hard, right? Now, one thing Dr. Neely Fuller says, Dr. Neely Fuller, okay? So his attitude is this. If we don't know who we are, say a Black man decides to go, we make choices, we fall in love with different people, whatever, right? But if a Black man is with a white woman, all right, and you don't know who you are, there's a neutralize button. There's a button. She will neutralize him, right? You will have challenges with your faith, who you are as a man, who you are as a Black man. Other groups don't have that. We're the only people that have still continued to perpetuate assimilation. And it's hard. I get up every day and I go, okay, my name is Sandra McKechnie and I'm challenged with double consciousness, 2 streams of thought, 2 social identities. Own that and try and close that gap, right? Mm-hmm. Don't just walk over it. Try and close that gap where you're trying to connect your African or African Canadian or African American self with your culture. And close that gap. We can do it. Is it going to happen in my lifetime or yours? Probably not. But we can. It's that conscious awareness. Now we're aware. It's like, oh my gosh, I hear what Sandra's saying. Yeah, I get this. Right? You love who you love. My brother said to me one day before he passed away in 2019. She said, Sandra, when he heard me speak, we were doing this, and it's an 8-hour session for a reason. It saturates and it's transformative. But he said, Sandra, oh my gosh, I will never again be with a white woman. Is that because you don't like white people? Our grandfather, white, our family, we got all kind of people in our family. No, it's because he said I don't feel like I had a choice. I didn't know who I was. I didn't understand what this meant, right? And now he understood. And he went home, let me tell you, spiritually connected to whom he was supposed to be under the Most High as a man. And so we look at the positioning of our men and our women in double consciousness. We have double consciousness fundamentals. We have double consciousness advanced. Then we have double consciousness meets the faith. In this hour right here, that's something that I'm hoping people will want to attend. Really will.
Yeah. And I love that, because it's very important for you to know who you are. I know that my studies for me have brought me to a place where spiritually, I know that we are all connected. Yeah, I don't care definitely. Where you from, who you are, what you've been through, and we could separate by color, but then we're also going into that social engineered habit, right? So I never do that by separating by color because separating by color is also part of that gap. Absolutely. Because that's part of what you don't know, right? So like I tell people, you know what, if you don't get past your pains of feeling a victim of something, you will still be missing a part of who you are. Definitely. Because it's not even a, let's say, white system or black system. It is a system of 8 families that have created the system for this entire global world. Yes. And we are all trapped in it. And we are all looking through this microscope to become this person with this that they say we should become, right? Become this person. But really what that person is a slave. We all are. Every single person who has a 9-to-5 job is a slave. Everybody who is out there, because you got to fit into this box. There's so many people that don't want to fit into the box. So really understanding the fact that we're all connected.
Yes,
for me, helps me to expand my awareness, not only in self, but social awareness, to understand, because we all have to live together, for me, right? So if I got to go out there and I have to be around you, I need to understand how your brain is working and how you're thinking. So I need to also understand your past and where you're coming from. And since we're all connected, I can understand that and I can get a feel for that and we can move on. So when you're doing dumb things and you're being manipulated, and for me, I really stepped away from victim mode, completely
totally.
To the point to where I'm like, I'm not, first of all, I'm not a victim because I'm not a slave in my mind. I'm nowhere near a slave. So I'm not a victim. But the other thing for me in consciousness is, we're here and we keep getting this divide, but it's also part of that microscope for us to divide our lifestyle, divide our past. So and we're in this microscope, we're looking at us, but we are many. We are not one, we are many. So when we're looking through that microscope, it disperses a lot of information because that's what they want us to do, right? And if we can stay creatively frustrated with each other, we will never find our consciousness, because our consciousness, that is part of our history. And if we're all connected, that's what's running through me. And they don't want that, because if we get connected as one, and the collective come together on that level, that when you're talking about unstoppable, you're talking about changing the whole dynamic of everything that we have been socially engineered to believe. It goes away. It has to go away as a collective consciousness, as a collective, and not as a detachment, because that collective consciousness is more powerful in multiple numbers and in huge numbers. Definitely, look at everything that's going on right now. We didn't do it by ourselves. We didn't do it, just here. We did this together. So for me, I can't displace, our collectiveness as humans and all being together. Because if I'm removing part of myself, then I can never fully understand myself.
But truly, though we are amazing together. First, especially because of that's what's different about our group, brown and black people. Okay, we have been assimilated into self-hatred and we have accepted dehumanization. I support people in areas of social justice, and I'll tell you the horrible things that I have seen. Okay, and many of us out here have seen and are aware of that are still happening in the corporate world, C-suite, all of these things. It is heartbreaking. I cry because I cannot believe. So when I think about us becoming one, before we become one, our people have to have a moment, whether you do it with your friends, whether you do it, you need to love you and have oneness with yourself of the people and find out who you are. Every other group, the Jews aren't going to let you see what I'm saying? So for us to be collective, we have to as a people, we've got to heal and as individuals. So it's not about hatred, because the moment we start talking about blackness, we ourselves start shucking and jiving. Massa, I'm going up to the big house. No. We first have to own what we need to be healed from and recognize some of that, right? You know what I'm saying?
Right. No, so, because a lot of us,
big issue. So a lot of us are out here and we think consciousness is hard work. It's not just getting up and putting on a dashiki and going to the nearest Afrofest. It's hard work. It's getting up in the morning and going, okay, I want to be consciously aware. I want to be aware of what happened to me. Remember our ancestors, what they went through. This is not just about you and me. This is about us passing things on and correcting things that happened that they knew. Okay? They knew it. We were assimilated for a few hundred years, but thousands of years ago, they had it. And it's in our DNA. It's in our epigenetic cells. And so we have to reclaim that every month. Right.
And we definitely got to get out of our own way. Right. There's no support. There's no collaboration. There's no communication. There's no understanding. There's no even will to understand for many. So that collective consciousness definitely needs to be, we do have to get that part together and cleaned up first. That has to be the understanding first.
Yeah,
I'm
absolutely.
100%.
It's happening.
Right. And I'm 100% on board with that, because you can't say I support my people when you support the people you know. You know what I'm saying? So do you identify? You got to completely identify, or be all in or be all out. That's for me. Be all in or be all out. But don't straddle the line. And then when it's convenient or comfortable for you, you're all in. When it gets a little different or not understanding, then you're not there. It's like, okay, I'm over here. Well, we're all together in this, right? Well,
and it's about changing little things, though. Like I used to, a brother would look at me on the subway and he's like, girl, I should be like, now when he says that, I'm like, how you doing? You all right? Little things in bringing harmony into our people. Sisters looking at each other all right. And then I'll just say, girl, I like your hair. You look nice. Just little things that we can do, right? And recognizing that, yes, we're economically castrated, politically castrated, right? Socially, psychologically, but that is changing. So in other words, it is not your fault. It is not about fault or blame. It's about you doing something about it. I've got some white sister girls that are right on board here. Wonderful. As long as your hands are in the work. We have social workers coming through, different people that right now there's some white ladies on the training. We have it tomorrow. We had it last Sunday. We have it again tomorrow, Sunday, that are like, oh my gosh, I didn't even know this. I just thought, people are just thinking we angry. But there's a reason we're angry. And that's the part we have to deal with as a group. Right. So I look at that and I recognize that we have been, even in terms of economics, all of a sudden, we are assimilated because we've had so many hard knocks. We think we're rich. Now, the LeBron wealth and the Oprah wealth just puts us at a few percent of the pie.
Right.
And there's a book called The Color of Money by a lady called Mercer Baradaran. And in that book, The Color of Money, and the color of money is not black. But what she was saying is the world would have to freeze for 290 something years for us to attain the wealth that we tout superficially. Some of our people are doing amazing things. Yeah. But because of 20, 19, 18, 17, that castration is fierce. So we do not have that. So recognize those things. I might be living on a street I might be a black person living on a street with all these other people. Everybody's paying the mortgage. We're doing it. It looks good. But I do not have, as a group, the same wealth as a lot of my neighbors, right? Income is different than wealth. So all these things is what we want to own when we're closing that gap, right? We want to understand what happened and that it's not your fault. But you are doing something about it. You are totally being proactive. And loving your people is okay, because it does not mean that you're a racist. And of course, racism doesn't apply to us. You have to have power and money to be a racist, okay? We can have discrimination and all kinds of, but we can't be racist, just telling you that part. But so that's what I wanted to say. In owning your group, make sure that we still not shucking. I can't love myself or my people because they're going to think I'm a racist. No. You need to love your people right now and find out what that looks like as you go back through that time warp.
Right. And for me, I'm like, I'm big on loving yourself, and I push that big time, because you cannot express love on any level. And I know people say, well, you got to love yourself. And once you love yourself, and they relate it to relationships. Then you can attract the right man. No. They're giving you part of a story. When you love yourself, you are able to love others outside of yourself on a higher level. And you can't have love for somebody else and respect for somebody else because you don't love and respect yourself. And when we talk about a lot of different facets of what we do, I think our biggest gap is learning, because nobody wants to go get that additional learning.
I know.
Culturally, I'm just going to put it right there. Yeah. The learning curve It's oh my gosh, it's huge, right?
No, it's
Because
true.
it's like bring us here, and it's almost like trying to fight with the consciousness and subconsciousness having a battle in your brain, but it's actually in the field of your realization between the same culture, right?
Right. Yeah.
So
True.
that
True.
love, and I'm not going to even put it on. I need to start with, if we want to talk about it, let's start with the root of it. The lack of love for self in that, and people will tell you, and it's the lack of allowing new information to help you understand better.
For sure.
You know what I'm saying? Because it's like, okay, love yourself. I love me. No, baby. I need you to really love yourself, because as I'm looking at you, I'm seeing what you're doing. I'm looking at you, and I can tell you don't love yourself on the level that you should love yourself or could love yourself. Like loving yourself is not just saying, I love me. It's not just saying, it's not words. It's a feeling. It's an energy. It's a movement internally.
Absolutely.
And you can't have a movement on any level on your reality if you haven't had movement internally with self. So if you haven't moved here, I don't care what conversation you have on what level with whoever, you're not gonna have that love, because what you're gonna be, what your consciousness does then at that point, it goes to the fight or flight mode, and then you release those toxins that you don't need to release, and then it makes you highly emotional. And now that you're emotional, you have no idea what to even do with your emotions. You don't even know what to do. You have all these boxes of emotions, and it's almost taking the whole deck of cards, the stack, we used to call them 52 pickup, and you throw the deck up and they just all fall all over the place. That's our emotions. That's our minds. That's how we think. And then you see some cards are face up, some cards are face down. The face down is the unknown, which you haven't discovered about yourself. The face up cards are the ones that you actually do know. But now you have face up cards on the cards that are face down. What does that mean? That means that there's a part of you that you do know, but it is connected to a part of you that you don't know. And you can expand on the part that you don't know to enhance who you are as a person. So we can't take ourselves as a person first. And love ourselves on that level of being a person first, of who we are, as we are spiritual beings. And spiritual beings don't have any race, religion, gender. Spirit doesn't have any of that. Spirit doesn't even understand any of that. It doesn't even connect to that. But once you start putting the labels and titles and things on you, then you connect to the labels and titles and things that you're doing. And now you become more human sense, more than spiritual sense. And your spiritual sense is where you're going to love yourself deeper. So until we could connect completely, we're not going to love ourselves on the level that we need to love to change, because change is in love. Change is in loving yourself. Change is in being able to go out there and look at you and say, hey, Sandra, my name is Desiree. We look alike. And I'm not going to help you out because we look so much alike. But baby, I feel you and I see where you are spiritually. Let me connect to you. And then let's have a conversation. And now let's sit down and really heal, because I can't heal you through frustration, pain, and victimage, but I can heal you through understanding, knowledge, and love. I'm going to bring it to you on a level that we can both understand. And us as a people, if we don't start there, there's no additional understanding beyond that, because what is going to happen universally and spiritually, it's going to cause a blockage. And I don't care how hard you go, you're going to keep hitting the wall. And that's that wall I keep talking about that we need to tear down. And if you can't get past that wall, you'll never know yourself. But yes, it starts with us, and it starts with understanding. It starts with love. It starts with respect. It starts with learning. And it starts with opening your mind up and being open-minded enough to accept the information that you do not know and you do not understand as real, and not as some fairy tale or some mess on TV or this. No. When do we open ourselves up mentally to set our emotions and shelf them? Like shelf the emotions, shelf those emotions first. And let's get to the nitty gritty and have a conversation. Let's get to where we can just be on one accord with each other. And if you're on the outside looking in, and I'm just going to say this being real, if I sit up there and see a family and I see that that family is not on one accord, do I really want to reach out and help that family? And that's a choice. Everything is a choice. So do I really want to go into this drama? Do I really want to go in there and go in this pot that's all confusing? That's like it's a lot of work. Like, can y'all at least start the process and I can come in and help you through the rest of the process? So for me, it's like, I don't want to be a victim in saying that, yes, we know the realities of the world. We know what's real. We're not going to even candy coat or even lie about that. No, we're not treated the same. We don't get the same treatment. We don't have the same houses. We don't have the same abilities and also the same opportunities. Give me an opportunity to be up there and be a Tony Robbins. Why do I have to sit up there and fight so hard to get up there in his spot? I know as much information as he knows, and probably even more because of the experiences that I've had. What can I connect on? But I have to go fight tooth and nail to even get that kind of recognition and position in this world. Why? Why do I have to go through all of that? You know what I'm saying? But in order for you to accept me, we need to accept us. We don't even accept us. So how can you expect anything to be acceptable to others who don't accept themselves?
Yeah, it's starting though, Desiree. It's rough.
It is rough.
Yeah, I was thinking how there's certain obvious things that manifest change. Like one of them that's obvious is if you are, and this is hard, and I know it's hard for people.
Right.
If you are coloring your skin, if you are bleaching your skin, and I know it's happening, it's a big thing all over the world, okay? Especially and it's not about fault. It's not about blame, especially West Africa is huge. Nigeria is one of the big places for this.
Yes.
If you are coloring your skin, and I know people are saying they're being interviewed and they're saying it's just about, it's just about the fad right now. And some people are being honest. I can't get a job in certain movies or I can't get a job as a model. And I know there's some point in your life you're going to really have to look in the mirror and think, my God, because this thing is stripping the melanin off of you. And that melanin is a chemical key to life.
Yes.
Yeah. So our discernment, the way we hear, the way we think, it has everything to do with our consciousness. So the Most High God has designed us that way. Go back biblically and see who you are. Right. It's because we don't know who we are. Right. Okay. And I recognize this. So we are going to recognize this together. That's why you're coloring your skin. That's why, we're in and out of relationships. So things are manifesting that really aren't really normal to our people. I'm not talking about other people. They aren't normal to our ancestors. Right. Staying together was part of what we did. We and now you got Africa we don't even like America. Okay? We didn't do like other people, all this falling in love business. Amos Wilson, a psychologist that was always speaking for our people, passed away years ago. Amos Wilson, his attitude was, we didn't be falling in love. We loved each other, mind to mind and soul to soul. Everybody has a different calling. The Asians have a different calling. The Jewish people, everybody has a different calling, and we got to find ours. And then we can we're all the same. We're all together, because then we be whole and we be strong and we be functional in the capacity that God intended us to function in.
I think our biggest healing really is between countries. Right. I mean, even we have a really big, we have a very huge agenda. I know we, focus on America a lot, but a lot of our double consciousness, and talking about double consciousness, a lot of our biggest consciousness is on another continent. It's all the way on, and that continent don't even like us. You know what I'm saying? You have a whole continent where our history is living that doesn't even like us to give us our history.
That was designed.
And you know what? Look, let's put it like this. Let's just say, regardless if it is designed or not designed, right now we're in a place in our life that is an excuse.
Yeah.
That is an excuse. Yeah. Let's get past it. Let's talk the real. Look, if we can become loving on each other between Africa and America and even the Caribbeans, if all of us have that joined love, now we could talk about America. Right. And we're talking about that's already huge in itself, but not as big as Africa, because there's a whole lot more of us in Africa. And like I said, we're on a continent that our history doesn't even live in. If you want to go back that far, our history is over there. And we can't even access our history because our own is stopping us from accessing what we're connected to.
It takes just one
It
It
takes
takes one
one.
person to start this thing,
And one
right?
person
One
has
person.
started,
Yeah.
and one person has started for a lot of years. But I'm like, okay, so this is really deep. You know
It
what I'm
is
saying?
deep.
You're
It is
going.
deep.
It's not like on the surface. This is not something like a lot of people say. Well, you know, we got to get along here in Las Vegas. Well, Las Vegas is a pin on this big, huge map. Like you got
Yes,
a lot.
yes, yes.
You're talking about this needle in a haystack. We are the
Mhm,
needle, but it
mhm.
is a haystack that we need to go through straw by
But yes,
straw
there's a
all the
number of
way down to
people.
the
Yeah,
end. So for
yeah,
me
yeah,
right
yeah,
now,
yeah.
if we're going to sit up there and say anything about anything, I'm going to say we need to blame. We need to point the finger back at ourselves and saying
Sure,
we're not
sure,
serving, we're not having justice and serving ourselves well
sure.
because we can't even get along. We don't
Yes.
even get along in the city,
Okay. When I
let
say that's,
alone the
yeah.
world.
When
You
I
know
say
what I'm
that's
saying?
by design, a lot of those the scramble for Africa was a real thing, and a lot of our people allowed us to get there. I get that. The beautiful thing is, it takes one to make this changing, and people are doing it, and it is happening. Now, the thing about Africa is this, that we have been taught a lot of the wars. I know I don't mean to simplify this. It's about the Eurocentric way our heads were even measured. How much
Right,
of us
right,
look more Eurocentric than the other? I'm
right,
not going to simplify and trivialize it, but it had to do with how Eurocentric one skull looked from the other. You
right,
know, it's
right,
Rwanda, all of these places that have had all of this horrible stuff happening on that continent, and we're from Africa and beyond.
right.
So the point of it is that it does. I'm now doing a lot of beautiful work and talking to some of my African sisters and talk, you know what I'm saying? Because we are different peoples. There was a lot of different tribes up in there. So now there is reconciliation happening, though. It's beginning. And I love that. And that to me is amazing. It's just recognizing, again, if we know our history, if we know the truth, we are going to be free. There's a freedom that's going to happen internally to each and one of us.
Oh yeah, for
And
sure, for
that's
sure.
going to be the most beautiful thing, I think, collectively.
And you know what? Even as a child, and I know a lot of us as Americans, even as little bitty kids, we always thought about going back to Africa, going back home, going back to Africa. Now, whether that was engineered
Mm-hmm.
or not, that was the thought process. Because
Right,
a
right,
lot of
right.
us back in the
Definitely.
70s, we wore the African symbols on our neck, we wore the clothes, we did all these things. So was it say, hey, go back home, or was it I want to be connected? You know, so there's still that I mean, like even for I'm looking at just the reality of everything. Do I want to be connected, or is this engineered for me to go back home because you don't want me here? You know, so there's a lot of subliminal messages of we don't want you here. And there's a lot of verbal messages that, you know, over there on the other continent, we don't want you here. So I always told people, I said, for Black Americans, it's almost like we're the stepchildren. Like nobody wants you really. Like, so we have to want ourselves. And
Yes,
if we can't
absolutely.
even want
Absolutely.
ourselves, you know, we're the most displaced in this entire world
Mm,
because you know, Africans, you're good. You can all go back home. Even if you go to China or you go wherever you venture off, you can always go back home, right? In America, they don't want us here. We can't go anywhere else. They don't want us even in Africa. So you tell us to go back to Africa, they don't even want us there. You know what I'm saying? They don't even like us. Look, they barely like themselves. Like, you know, just like here, we barely like ourselves. So I'm seeing similarities between that continent and this one. And we can say, we can give a lot of people the power, or a culture the power to say that you just screwed up the entire world of all of us Black folks because we're all going through the same thing.
mm-hmm.
Or we can say, you know what? We're going to be Wakanda and we are many. How about if we step back? Because right now, there's no reason to say anything about this is that fault, this is this is that, this is that, because we're still
Yeah,
pointing fingers and being victims.
yeah.
It's time for us to say, hey, you know what? Y'all need to change your mindsets. We need to change our mindsets. It's almost like a sister and brother, siblings feuding and fighting and going at each other's throat. But if you can't get those two siblings to see eye to eye and understand and remember the love that they had, where you know where your love was,
It
and
sure
bring you
is.
into one with your
Yes.
loveness
Yes.
between the
Yes.
two continents,
Yes.
you
Yes.
know,
Indeed.
then
Indeed.
we can pull away blame. But I will never pull blame. I'm not a blamer. I'm not
Yeah.
a victim.
It's
But
not
I'm
our
going to say
fault.
this.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to say that it is our fault at this point. because
on some level,
we
yes, but I
have
mean overall, right? Yeah,
overall on every
yeah.
single
There's a
level,
lot of
it
things.
it is our fault, and we can make so many
for
changes that we're not doing. But a lot of people are having a conversation and talking about it. It has to be more than a conversation. Like we have a whole lot of conversation, but when are we going to actually have movement? And I'm not talking about Black Lives Matter movement. I'm not talking about, I'm talking about a real movement of connectivity globally, so we all can love on each other. Because like I had another guest even last week from Canada, excuse me, from Canada, and it's the same situation. You know what I'm saying? You go to Africa, it's the same situation. You go down to Haiti, and Haiti's the only one that even fought for themselves to remain themselves. But then they're broke. They because they paid. People look at it, well, they're broke. That's a poor country. They paid their way out of what we go through. They paid for their freedom. They paid for that. So they're not broke. They actually owed a lot of money. Where we're talking about 40 acres and a mule, you're talking about a whole country. You know, Haiti itself is like, forget the 40 acres and a mule. Y'all owe us billions and trillions of dollars. Then because we're not broke, we had to sacrifice and pay for our freedom. And they make changes, and they've actually been pushing. And Marcus Garvey, I mean, you know, they're coming and they're coming out, and they're trying to say, hey, this is what it is. Even back in the 70s, in the 60s and 70s.
But the collective part, Desiree, is not possible unless we start doing the little local things so we can get to the global thing.
And that is what
I see happening, which is amazing. But it does take patience, and you do see little by little the local thing, then you're going to get that collective.
And that's why I started coaching, because I'm going to teach you how to look at you. Self-awareness, personal development, get on you, get in you, love on you, and then be able to go out there and love on everything that you want to love on, to have that connectivity to actually make a real movement. I know we're like running short. We done had our hour.
Wow.
And you know,
we can do another hour.
We can do 2 more hours. You know what I mean? We can keep going and going. I know I have a very tight schedule this morning, so I would love to keep going on and on, because, you know, I get into it. I'm like, let's do this. And I want to even go deeper into it, because there's so much more information to be discovered, explored, and uncovered. Because there's a lot of information that needs to be covered, but there's a lot of information that really still needs to be explored and discovered. Because we need to go in and start exploring and discovering self. So then that way we can have a deeper understanding and love for each other, so we can love on each other the right way, because we should be loving on each other. We have a lot of money between us. We hold ourselves down as much money. Dude, they did, what's that? I'm having a brain fart. It's a black bank in California, black United Bank, First United Bank. Okay. You know, she even came out and talked about how much money moves in our community alone. So if, you know, when I look at that and I want to be honest, I'm going to say, okay, we're holding our own selves back because we have enough money to actually make ourselves rich. We have enough money to make movements. We have enough money in just us to really do big things. But until we get that love for each other and we get that understanding for each other, we can't move that money the way we need to move it. It's not about getting a $20,000 or $50,000 PPP loan and then going out flossing in your cars, your jewelry and your clothes, and taking trips and living your best life. It's not about that. It's about taking that money and actually building and creating and understanding that this is building generational wealth. You want to talk about generational wealth? Let's talk about generational wealth. But we definitely got to have another show. I want you to tell everybody. I know we do. I need to tell you, let people know how they can find you, discover you, follow you, get in touch with you.
Okay. First of all, I'm going to leave you with this. Our faith has everything to do with where we are right now and the lack thereof. There's something that the Most High wants from us, and we need to return to that. That's all I'm saying. Okay. So you can get in touch with me. Facebook, just put in Sandra McKechnie, and you'll find me there. Double Consciousness, 2 B's in double. And you put up Double Consciousness in Facebook, LinkedIn, and you'll find me.
Okay. And everybody, y'all know, give her some love, reach out to her. I know there's so many of you out there that wants a bigger and deeper understanding. Go to somebody who's really not only been living it, studying it, but actually preaching it, talking about it.
Also, Desiree, it's doubleconsciousness@gmail.com. Please email me. I'd love to hear from whoever. doubleconsciousness2bs@gmail.com. Two B's and double.
Please reach out to her, because I know a lot of you are on that level and y'all want that understanding. And then you can't get an understanding until you get you can't get an overstanding until you get the understanding. And the understanding starts with the inner standing. So start with self. She can help you get there from knowing who you are, knowing where you came from, giving you that connectivity and that closure, that gap that needs to close, but give you that closure so you can be parallel with yourself. I like that. But anyway, if y'all want to reach me, thank you, Sandra. I'm going to see you backstage in just a second. But anybody want to reach me, y'all already know, Desiree Williams at blanktag.org. You can also catch me on Facebook at Desiree Passionate One Williams. Put Passionate One in to help you find me, because there's a ton of Desiree Williams out there. Also, you can email me. You can Facebook me at blank_tag_, Instagram blank_tag_. The YouTube channel, as I told you already, guys, everybody, it is starting next month. I do also am working on, and you'll start seeing the advertisements going out for that, for this 30-day boot camp that I'm going to do. And it's a 30-day beta boot camp, so it is totally free. It is, anybody can come and join and get in, just to give you more information and awareness on your self-awareness and also personal development, helping you learn some mindfulness so you can learn how to tone down the chatter, so you can actually get a deeper understanding of not only self, but everything in your outside world, so you don't have all the distractions and discomfort mentally of trying to block you from getting the information that you need. So everybody, thank you again for this amazing Saturday. I know you got a big treat out of this one, but definitely going to bring Sandra back and have some more conversations. I have so many guests I need to bring back. I'll start working on that through October, November, December. I am right now booked up all the way to the beginning of October. The first week in October is already booked. So I'm definitely working on bringing a lot of people back, but I also have a lot of people wanting to come on. So I have had to do some maneuvering and mixing and matching, and we're definitely thinking about adding a second show. So having 2 shows each week. I'll get back to you guys on that one. But have an amazing Saturday, rest of your weekend. I'm sorry, my voice is cracking. You guys know I've been sick all week, no COVID. I have an upper respiratory infection. So I've been fighting that, healing from my shoulder. Y'all know I am still going to come, and I'm going to be resilient and relentless, because we're going to get this information out, because we love you so much. We want you to grow and be the best you can be. Till next Saturday, we'll see y'all then. Have a great week.